Hi everybody, welcome back to another channel, reading story kind of video. In this one, I feel compelled to share a particular story. I trust and intend that it will reach the right people at the right time, who can take the wisdom from this, reflect on it, and also what's coming through immediately is trust your intuition and the reactions, the hits, the senses, the feelings, the insights that you get about situations, specifically social situations, that other people aren't speaking out loud or validating or can even comprehend or perceive. Don't underestimate your clarity. Don't underestimate your perception. Don't underestimate your perception. Give yourself permission to trust and validate what you perceive, what you feel. And I want to encourage those who are stepping into their intuitive gifts. The more that you listen to what you sense, feel, perceive, etc., even if other people, again, don't validate it or dismiss it or try to run away from it or whatever, protect what you perceive, protect what's close to you when you need to. But the more that you do that, the better you're going to become at pattern recognition, and the more refined your discernment is going to become, your intuitive discernment. And so you're not going to need to go through hell, so to speak, in order to learn what is for you and what's not for you, or what is safe and what's not safe, or what is good and what's not good. What I found in my life and intuitive journey is the more discerning that I become, the more I trust my intuition, and the more I notice how the patterns of my perception versus reality line up and communicate with one another, and the relationship between those two things, the more intuitive I become and the more peace I preserve for myself, and the less chaos and drama that I get swept up in. It's because I trust my senses, and I don't need to go to an event and have a terrible time to recognize that that environment was not for me in the first place, because I can train my subtle body and I can train my mind and my conscience to recognize the signals that my subtle body and my intuition and emotions are sending to me before I wind up in a crappy situation. You know what I'm saying? And that actually, I feel like, segues kind of perfectly into the story that I want to tell. And then I'm going to pull some cards. But there's some themes in this. I don't know why I want to share, but it just popped up today. This is a story about discernment, integrity, standing up for yourself, and really hearing your own voice and trusting your own self, even when maybe the outside world is giving you a lot of pushback. And also value. I think I mentioned that already, but I'm just going to jump straight into the story. So, once upon a time, I worked at a cute little independent theater in New York, where I lived, in the Hudson Valley. And I loved being there. It was very easy work. And when I say easy, I mean it was peaceful, it was laid back, it was not over demanding, it was under demanding, it was spacious, and I need spaciousness in any kind of environment to flow and feel free and do my own thing and exist. And so basically my job was to sometimes open and close, which was just cleaning and turning off some of the switches upstairs in the electric room with all the technical stuff, making popcorn, sweeping the theaters, selling tickets, and doing other little things like that, selling concessions. And I was there for a couple months, and I took the job because the CEO of that company, he actually inherited the company, or was he either bought it or inherited it or was given it by someone who used to own it. So I don't think it was his child, but he inherited it. And this guy kind of would, and him and his theater company, whatever, they would put on events sometimes for like fundraisers, or there was this one time they did like a mini film festival in the town showcasing some of the local farmers and their stories and fundraising for them, and it was just awesome. Like I loved blending art and community and humanitarian work and all that stuff, and I loved being a part of it. I loved being in that environment. I love being around those kinds of people. And I met that guy at, I forget how we connected exactly, but I honestly can't remember the introduction or whatever, but I do remember he saw my art and he liked my art, my illustration, visual art. And I met with him for like coffee or something one time. This was before I worked the job, and he told me that he liked my art and he was like sharing some visions for like posters and advertising, things like this. So we talked about compensation and what he had the budget for, which honestly was not big enough for, I think, any artist. He wanted to compensate me with movie tickets, like partially. And I was like, no, my art is work and I need to get paid for it. And I don't know. I think I accepted it in the beginning because it was like it was a way in my mind. It was an opportunity and I had nothing to lose, so I took it. So, the financial value is something I was willing to compromise in the very beginning, off the start. So, yeah, he wound up using an illustration that I drew in the past as the base graphic for a poster, which I'm not going to show it because I don't want to give away, like, too many details for, in case any crazy people are watching this. But he used, my artwork and hired like a graphic designer to organize text over it. And it looked amazing. And it was like on doors of different theaters and shops around the Hudson Valley. And what happened next? So when I was with him in that like mini interview coffee date thing, he told me that he had some room open in his theater for like I don't know what the title would be called, but just someone to work behind the counter or whatever. And I was like, I was interested because I wanted to get connected and involved in that community somehow. I thought it could be a good opportunity potentially. So he hired me and I went in and I interviewed like once, I think, with a manager there who was in charge of kind of more of the logistics, like on the ground, of her employees and whatever. She oversaw like the stuff that happened at the theater, but the CEO guy who I've been telling you about, he wasn't really ever at the theater. He would come by sometimes for like events or talks or whatever. They would host like filmmakers and documentary like people, and it was very cool. It was like a little art house theater, independent theater, and yeah, I loved it. But anyway, interviewed, I got the job. I worked like 3 days a week or something, and I would just like sell tickets and concessions and do little tasks, toiling here and there, and it was just so down to earth and relaxed. And I was always with like, there was always maybe like 3 of us working at a time, so it was very quiet and whatever. So the people would go in for the movie and we would have like an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes of just like peace and silence. And during that time, we were allowed to work on our own projects. There was another person who worked there who was a graphic designer, and some students, and they would do like homework or whatever. And I worked on my writing, I worked on my website. It was just so laid back and so peaceful. And I was like, for the amount of work I'm doing and the amount of time I have to focus on my own creative endeavors and just everything I'm getting, it was a great opportunity, I thought. And it was. And then a couple months later, they needed to make cuts to the staff because of budget, and they let go of their most recently hired people. And I was that person at the location I was working at, and there was some other girl at a different location who also got let go of. And there was one time where, so for context, the majority of people in that area are like 50s, 60s, 70s, retired coming in enjoying movies. The majority of people were older people. And there was one woman I had some rapport with, and I just mentioned in passing that I was upset that I was that I was being let go of. Yeah, her and I got into a conversation, and I literally just remember that we were connecting and it was nice and whatever. And I mentioned that, and I didn't think anything of it, but I'm sharing it with you for context because of what happens later. It's pretty ridiculous. And yeah, again, for context, I have no complaints about working there. I've had positive interactions with every coworker, with the manager, literally the manager herself. I had very positive interactions with. There was never any drama. There was never any weird kinds of things going on. And then I got let go of, and it was honestly kind of like mildly heartbreaking. I was sad. And I was like saying goodbye to the staff and everything, and I was upset about it. But I was trying to make light of it, and, when I did mention it, it was like I was trying to mention it in like a tone that was making light of it. Obviously still communicating that I'm upset and I'm sad to be leaving this job that I really liked. And I think that was the context of my just one-off exchange with this woman, who I felt a rapport with. We were having a little back and forth or whatever. So the manager had told me, she said, if you ever feel like coming back, let us know. This season is just not, we can't afford to have multiple people, like as many people as we have now, because the theater's not doing well. It's a slower season, whatever. We were going into like winter, I think. So I said, okay. And then a couple months later, I reached back out to the manager. And this bitch, I'm sorry, but this bitch, it was just such a left field moment when I had texted her and reached out, hey, it's been a while, I was just wondering if there's any room to come back. And this bitch texted me back and she said something like, I'm surprised you want to come back after what you said about us. And there was one other time in my life I remember feeling like gut punched like that, and I was like 4 years old, and I didn't even throw it. Memory is crazy, man. This group of girls threw a rubber toy snake over one of the dividers in the room, and it hit a like cork board where the teacher had put up some like notes or whatever, and I happened to be sitting at the feet of this group of four mean girls who grew up to be like popular cheerleaders who sneered at like everybody except for their own friends. And the teacher looked over and she was like, who did that? And then the girls started jumping up and down and they were like, she did. And I was like, I didn't even get a word out. I remember I stuttered and I was like, and then she was like, nope, go pick it up, go clean it up. So I was blamed and punished for something I didn't even fucking do because I was standing in the wrong position. I wasn't even standing somewhere wrong. These little stupid little children. I mean, children are children, okay? They were 4 years old. It's like, hopefully they learned their lesson. But I would expect, even a 4-year-old not to like do that. Like you do it once and you don't get away with it. You know what I mean? But nobody was there to defend me or to handle that appropriately. Or even to be honest, like, listen, I didn't see who did it, but blah, 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 teaching them about responsibility or whatever. None of that happened. I just got the blame. And so when this manager texted me back and she was like accusing me of bad-mouthing the place, I texted back and I was like, I'm sorry, what are you talking about? Can we talk about this? And I don't think I got a response. So I tried calling her, and I actually called her a few times, and I was sent to voicemail multiple times. I left a voicemail, And eventually I got a hold of her. And I tried to just be as diplomatic as possible. And I said, can you please tell me why you don't want me to come back and what you think I said? Because I didn't say anything bad about this job. I have had positive interactions with you. I've had positive interactions with everyone I worked with. And yes, I did mention in passing once that I was sad that I was being let go of to a customer that I was having rapport with, and I didn't think anything of it. And like, I'm not here to like filter something that I think is so benign as like casually mentioning that I'm upset that I'm not going to be working at this place anymore, and I feel a connection and I'm kind of grieving it and having a moment of connection with this woman that, again, I was already in a fluid conversation with, and it was just such a benign piece of information to share. And that was my side. So that's what I said to the manager. And that's what I said to her after she told me that the customers were complaining about me, or this customer was complaining about me. And I was like, what? Like, what on earth? Where is this coming from? And so I said to her, I was like, okay, well, I understand if there's an issue or if I said something wrong or stepped out of line somehow, but I would love the opportunity to hear what that is so I can reflect on my behavior and take accountability where it's due if I did something that could be corrected or that was so wrong. And her reply, her cowardly reply was, we just can't have that reflecting on our business. We just can't, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, I clocked her. I saw her. She gave me her number. I was like, this woman is being cowardly. This woman is literally believing gossip over her direct experience of me. And she is just throwing her integrity out the window and not giving me an opportunity to explain myself, defend myself, and humble myself, if I even could. But she didn't let that happen. So I said, okay, bye, bitch. And then after that, I just slipped this man's name, the CEO's name, and I don't want to be dropping names over here, so I edited that part out. Hold on, I'm going to timestamp that. So, after that happened, I reached out to the CEO and I texted him and I tried calling and leaving a few messages for him, and I think I heard back from him maybe like a week later or something. I don't think I ever spoke to him on the phone directly. I like left a voicemail, I left a text, and he responded and he said to me, at least he was sympathetic and seemed to like understand or, you know, not harbor the same weird baseless resentments against me. But he said something like, I'm so sorry that happened, etc., whatever. And I was like, I thanked him, and I think I maybe was like hoping that he would do something, but nothing ever came of it. He never spoke to his manager, he never, whatever, he just kind of like gave me what I consider an empty apology because there was no action behind it. And so a couple months after that, he reached out to me because another film festival was happening and he wanted to use my art again. He wanted to pay me for rights to use it for another round of posters. So what I said was something along the lines of like, hey, I'm super flattered and I would love to work with you and I appreciate the opportunity and everything. However, I just don't feel right about supporting your business with my art after what happened and after the lack of support, advocacy, etc. that I didn't receive from you or from the manager. So if you want to work with me, something actually has to change, because I'm not going to contribute my time, energy, effort, creative gifts to an organization that is enabling abuse. And I'm using that word lightly, but it technically is a mild form of abuse of somebody's dignity when you're enabling a leader to prioritize gossip over the truth. That is abuse. That has potential to turn into something terrible. And I would be abandoning myself if I said yes to using my art, even though you wronged me like this. You are the CEO of this company, and you're a manager. Rejected somebody who I only have positive experiences with this place until then. Your manager rejected someone because they believed gossip, and they didn't give this person an opportunity to have a human conversation. Like, no, I'm not going to support you if you're enabling behavior like that. So that's the story of the time that I worked a job and I was like ganged up on. And I mean, it felt like I was ganged up on. Like, no one else accused me or treated me like that other than the manager. But listen, when even if one person in a group of people behaves badly or is abusive or does something crappy, the people who are contributing to that system, that hierarchy, and holding it together and acting as support and glue, when those people are passive and continue offering their energy and support to a structure that is fundamentally corrupt, that is called enabling. And I wasn't about to do that. And I know this because of what I've been through in my own family dynamics. So that kind of gave me, being like a black sheep type for my family. It's kind of funny because my narcissistic mom and absent blood family trained me to not settle for that bullshit, So that's where I got the courage to speak up to the CEO and the manager and step into my spine. And it's sad because I've been in many different situations where I just felt this compounded feeling of just being iced out for no reason. And sometimes people choose to believe the societal indoctrinations that they've ingested and incorporated into their beliefs, and other people like me are actually present and try to meet the moment separate from assumptions and the past and patterns and whatnot. It's like, I'm here, I'm open, I'm available, I'm trusting until you give me a reason not to. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be kind to you and open to you until you give me reasons not to. It's like, I never became what was done to me. If I became what was done to me, I would be in jail. I mean, if I became a person who repeated what was done to me, I mean, I would have tried to kill multiple people, literally. If I became the person who continued doing what was done to her, then I would just make the world a million times worse, And not that I'm perfect. I have hurt people, for sure. I've had my moments. But overall in my life, I've stayed soft. I've stayed open, and I've chosen love again and again and again. Even though I've been injured so many times, even though I've been wronged so many times. And some people choose softness and love, and other people choose cowardice for whatever reasons. I don't understand. Survival, I would assume. It's very deep. And I don't think people want to be cowards. I don't think people want to be mean. I don't think people want to do the wrong thing. I think people are just scared and hurt, and they don't know what else to do. Doesn't excuse it at all. But it's just a thing that happens. So with that story being told, I'm gonna pull some cards just to like confirm or maybe solidify some themes, and just any messages that want to or need to come through for those who needed to hear this story right now. We have the Seven of Cups reversed. Okay, so this is saying like, don't let disillusionment. It's funny, it says illusionary success. Well, this is about dreaming upright. Seven of Cups, fantasy, dreams. I guess it is kind of illusory, but you can still garner inspiration from, fantasies. Reversed, I see this as disillusionment. I see this as you feeling disenchanted and uninspired to even wish or hope or dream again because of all the places in your life where crappy things maybe happened to you and you didn't get an opportunity to really enjoy the fruit of certain dreams. But, let the disillusionment be relevant to the things that maybe you were projecting a fantasy onto before, but don't let it stop you from believing and pursuing in, purity and love and the truth and dreams and good things like this. Literally, we have the Star and the King of Swords coming out. Literally, the Star is a card of dreams, hope, gentleness. With the King of Swords next to it, there's an energy of this masculine containment, integrity, discernment, backing your dreams. There is a part of you, whether you're connected to it or not, that knows for a fact that good stuff, your dreams and your fulfillment, is real. It's available, it's coming towards you, and you have learned enough in your life to be discerning and to have a spine to back you when you do feel disillusioned. What else? I'm just going to pull one more final messages for anyone watching this. We have the Ace of Swords. So, I feel like either right now or in the near future, you're going to be coming into a time period where you feel that clarity. And I should say, in all the areas where you maybe felt disillusioned, you're going to be remembering the truth again. And this is your power. This is literally your power. The sword of truth to cut through bullshit, to cut through lies. So let this be encouragement. Yield the truth. Yield your keen psychic intuition, your perception, your awareness, whatever, your knowledge that is rooted in the truth. Use that to cut through illusions and to save yourself and to protect yourself and to just cut away all the unnecessary weight. Four of Pentacles is coming out here, so I feel like that's just a double message or sign that like a break or rest or security is coming. And it's like your intuitive and intellectual clarity and strength and spine is going to help support you and give you kind of foundations to rest upon. So that's what I got for you. I hope that this was inspiring, consoling, empowering for whoever needed to hear it. Remember who you are. And if you want a personal reading from me, the info for all of that is in my description box, so check it out. Follow me on Instagram at Rustic Peach for more writing, shares, posts. I don't have a rhythm posting on there right now, but I might again one day. Instagram is kind of more whimsy, casual. And then my art Instagram is the.funk, and you can see some of my visual art there in case you want to hire me for like advertising your thing with my art or whatever, like this guy, but only if I align with your values. Anyway, some shameless self-promo there. Okay, so take care, you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.